What up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Um, in today's video, I wanted to do a little talking about relationships, um soul ties, and just a little bit of anything that has to do with those two subjects. So the other day I went I grabbed some dinner with my cousin, and we were talking, we were just chopping it up, and we were talking about along the lines of like how when you listen to people's experiences and you learn from people, that's when you can, it's kind of like a cheat code, right, in life. If you're a good listener and you're willing to listen to other people's testimonies, to their experience, and to their wisdom, and you apply that, then you'll save yourself from a lot of just a lot of bad. And he asked me, because I was once in a super um long-term relationship that I actually just got out of not too long ago, almost a year ago. And he asked me, since I have been in a long-term relationship, he asked for advice of what he should do if he is looking to be in a long-term relationship, and or what I would do if I were to do it again, right? And that's kind of why I got a little, that's where the inspiration for this video actually came from, because I wanted to talk about, soul ties, and how, there's good ones and there's bad ones, but I'm specifically going to be talking about the bad soul ties that I mean, I hope you guys will never have to deal with. And I'm gonna wrap this whole video up right to that one question, um, what I would do or what advice I would give to you guys if you guys are looking to, be in a relationship one day. But what is a soul tie, right? A soul tie is basically the bond within two people, and it's more of a spiritual thing than it is carnal or worldly, right? It's something that a lot of people don't realize is actually very prominent amongst relationships. Some people could be dealing with soul ties and they don't even realize it, right? Because they don't see this world as a spiritual thing. And the Bible tells us that, for we battle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual entities. I'll put the Bible verse up so you guys know what I'm talking about. But we don't our battles are not fought in this realm, in this world, that this physical reality that we live, but our battles are actually very much in an invisible world, right? um so soul ties are just the bond within two souls, right? And this bond, um it could either be like a simple soul tie that you're able to break, right, pretty soon, right? Or it could develop into something that will take years, will take a lot of work, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, right? Because for a bond, for a soul tie to ever develop into a almost to something that you feel like you're never going to get out of, there has to be a lot of trauma, on both ends, a lot of just history within the both of you, and just like ignorance and every kind of low vibrational low just things from things that are negative. If they are tied into the soul tie, it's gonna reinforce it and it's gonna strengthen it, and it's not gonna be good, right? So from my experience, right, when I got into my relationship, I was pretty young, so was the other person. And to be quite honest, our relationship was very much built off of ignorance, lust, you know, um, dishonesty. I'll be honest on my end, dishonesty. I don't know if that of the other person would say that on their behalf, but I know for a fact that I was dishonest and a lot of things. I was not a good communicator, right? I always had that mindset of like, um whatever I'm dealing with, I'm gonna keep to myself, and I'm just gonna keep going forward, especially as a man. Like, that's like nobody really cares about how you feel, right? You kind of just have to roll with the punches and get up and go to work, and it is what it is, right? So I suppressed a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts, and so that was basically the foundation of my relationship. It was ignorance, it was lust, it was dishonesty, right? And you could imagine when a storm would come or when there would be an earthquake, right? The foundation of the relationship, if you were to imagine like a building, the foundation being that lower area of the building, it was weak. I'm sorry, I keep thinking there's so when there was these events or these situations, it would weaken the building, right? There was no reinforcement, there was no solid foundation, so little by little the building became weak. And eventually it got to the point where the building collapsed, if that makes sense. So when you are to if you want to imagine your relationship to be a building, when you are to make that building, you want your foundation to be as solid as can be, right? And the only way your foundation is going to be um, solid, and it's going to be storm proof, right? Storm proof and anything proof. It's if you have these building blocks in your foundation, and that's number one, God; two, honesty; three, understanding; four, you know um I want to say true love. Love is a very loaded term, but understanding, God, um honesty, communication, um that's the only ones I could honestly think of at the moment. But if you have those building blocks in your foundation, I mean, your relationship is it's going to last, right? Even just having God as the foundation of your relationship is it's going to be able to withstand anything, right? Whenever those storms, whenever those earthquakes, whenever those problems come up, your building is not gonna shake. Your building is not gonna, like, it's not gonna weaken. If anything, it'll become stronger, right? So, um, so when you are dealing with a a soul tie, a bad soul tie, it it means that your relationship is it's usually not in the best standing. It doesn't have that firm foundation and that strong foundation, right? And so what happens is that um you begin to suffer, right? And one thing that I realized is before I made this video was it's never that the two people who are in the relationship acknowledge that it is a soul tie. It's always one person, right? One person is aware of the situation that they're going to, and the other person is almost like blind to it in a way, right? It's almost like the other person is very much like an NPC, and the other person is like wide awake, conscious, and aware of everything. Like if you're tapped into something, um, like if you're just like on a different wavelength, right? And so you gotta ask yourself, why is it that why is it that I'm dealing with this? Why is it that the other person is um ignorant to that fact? And I honestly think that there could be a couple reasons for it. One being that you are dealing with generational curses along your family. You're seeing the a repetition of issues that have happened. It might have happened to your mom, it might have happened to your dad, and now it's happening to you, right? So there's one. Another one could be that you may have opened some kind of door through your ignorance, um, dealing with things that you shouldn't have been dealing with, and you have caused something to come into your life and wreak havoc and put you in this situation. And then the other one could be judgment, or more so Yahuah, God putting you in this situation for a reason, right? And those first two kind of fall under um Yahuah, right? Because he is at the end of the day in control of everything. So soul ties are dangerous, man. And I wish more people understood the dangers that they pose, that I wish people understood how dangerous they were. I wish people understood how you could save yourself from these experiences and this hurt and the pain and these situations just by you know learning about the other person before you are to jump into that relationship, not just um sleeping with them soon as you get to know them, because that's dangerous, man. That's probably the worst thing you could do. And it's crazy because that's something that's very pushed onto our at least my age range, being like 25. So these newer generations, it's normal to be a whoremonger, or it's normal to for girls to have, rosters or whatever of men. It's normal for one night stands. It's normal to be just sexually degenerate in these times. It's pushed on you. If you do not partake in it, you're pretty much a loser or you're a weirdo. If you know, it's normalized, it's glorified, it's horrible, and it just lets you know, who is really running things in this world, or who really has control of the media and the people in power, right? That they're pushing us towards these, because don't think that this is just a product of just like normal, like oh, this happens to every civilization. Like sure, it does, but it's not because like this is normal human nature. It's more so because um the the people who do end up coming uh into power, who do have kind of control in how they shape society, there are people that aren't using the knowledge and the wisdom of our heavenly Father, but instead they get swayed by the devil. They get a hold of this occult knowledge. Um they become obsessed with power and with greed, and so the devil will offer them all this power, all this greed, but they have to do his will, and his will is to, pretty much f us over and hurt us and cause us to just stray away from God in every way, right? So like I was saying, it's important that when you are to look for a relationship, that you get to know that person, right? That you spend time with them to understand them, not just on a physical level, but a spiritual and a mental. That you learn about their every little every little thing. When you're sleeping around and you are with somebody, like, man, like, you're under a spell. Sex is powerful. Sex is so sacred. That's why when the Bible talks about two people coming together, right, and they become one flesh, it's because, some people will be like, oh, that just means they're becoming a marriage. And no, dude, like, it's because when you sleep with somebody, it's not just like, oh, we can be boyfriend and girlfriend and mess around. Like, no, dude, like, you've tied yourself spiritually. You're now connected in a manner in which you don't even understand, because again, we battle not against flesh and blood. So there's stuff going on around us in the spiritual that we have no idea that are happening, and we're so ignorant to that we allow ourselves to commit these errors and commit fornication and all these sins, not knowing that we're dealing with so much spiritually, right? And then we wonder why we deal with anxiety, and then we wonder why we're depressed, and then we wonder why we feel stuck, right? And we feel like we're cursed, and we feel all because we allowed ourselves to put ourselves in a situation due to our ignorance of heavenly things that the Bible speaks of. So again, it's dangerous sleeping around out here. A lot of these women have been, because you could look at this in a more secular and a more worldly way, right? They've done studies where they found that if a woman has a high amount of sexual partners, if she's had, that it's gonna make it harder for her to eventually pair with a man and have a long, successful term relationship, right? Because, right, secularly or worldly or scientifically, however you want to think about it, it's messed her up, neurologically, these certain chemicals in her brain, blah blah blah. Or you could think of it spiritually and understand that now she's been dealing with so many soul ties from all these men that she's been sleeping with, that she's infested with unclean spirits and dealing with demons and dealing with curses, all because she allowed her soul to be tied to to darkness, right? So I say all this to go back to that question, you know, what would I have done differently? What would I do now if I could? You know, I'm at the point in my life right now where I'm not really um too focused on a relationship, to be honest. I know for a fact that I do, and I will, and I do desire a wife and children and all of that, but I don't want to do it in my timing. I more so want my Heavenly Father to allow that relationship, or for Him to ordain that relationship. And through my discernment and through my wisdom, I will be able to um, hopefully I will be able to know that this is the one. And when I'm able to lay those building blocks on the foundation of our relationship, you know, putting God, honesty, communication, um, and etc., then there will be nothing that will go against me and my future wife, right? We will be together for the rest of my life, and that is more so what I would do. I would make sure that the person who I um come to know will be somebody that I understand thoroughly. That person understands me. You know, we have our Heavenly Father Yahuah as, you know, the foundation, and then, you know, communication and honesty and understanding to tie all that up together, and to build something beautiful and something nice, right? So I um hope this video made sense. I feel like I just rambled, but um I hope you got something out of this, you know. Uh I've been through it, you know, when it comes to this stuff, and it's honestly something that's, you know, a soul tie is, it's horrible, man. Um it's horrible because it's you who is aware of it and your partner isn't, right? And you almost feel crazy. You almost feel schizophrenic. You almost feel alone, ashamed, um, you know, ashamed because you feel the way you feel. Because for whatever reason, being able to express that feeling almost feels impossible, right? Um, because you've become comfortable and you've become uh, dependent on that person in some kind of way to make you feel a certain way, right? You've come to not, you tell yourself you love that person, but really you love the way that person makes you feel, or the or how it may fulfill something about you that you haven't had anything else fulfill, right? Um, it feels, if that person fills a void, it it completes an idea of yours. It fits part into your reality. So to not have that person, or to lose that person, is you feel fear, right? And it's not because you fear speaking. It's not because you fear communicating. It's not because you fear um it's 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 honestly because you in a way fear the idea of you losing that person um supersedes the feeling that you already feel. So whatever feeling that you feel, you've become comfortable to and you accept. And the idea of feeling anything besides that, if that person were to leave, becomes scary to you, even though it's exactly what you need, right? Change is very important. Becoming uncomfortable and putting yourself in uncomfortable situation, and in situations where you have no choice but to change, those are the situations that you are you are supposed to be in, right? um and it really comes down to fear. You fear losing that feeling that you have more than you fear that feeling of not having that person more than you fear um what you're going through at the moment, even though what you're going through at the moment is, it's not nice, it's not good. um and if you ask me, when it got to the point where I kind of had that switch in my mind, where things kind of started to churn and I started to realize that something needed to change, is when I stopped fearing the outcome of what would happen if I were to make that change, but more so I feared what would happen if I never made that change, right? I began to fear the idea of me not fulfilling the will of my Heavenly Father and not being able to accomplish the dreams and the goals that I had set for my life, because speaking for myself, I shoot past the stars, right? I'll just say that. So knowing that, I think I feared more not being able to do any of that than to ever change. So I hope that made sense. And I'll leave that video with that. Um, Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna start saying subscribe, like, and subscribe. Um, so yeah, like and subscribe, because I didn't want to be that person, right? To like be like and subscribe. I wanted my channel to eventually grow, organically, but maybe it is good that I say like and subscribe. Maybe somebody who, maybe somebody needs to hear this video, and if this video is ever able to, pop up and somebody's recommended, that'd be very good. So again, guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got some value, some insight, some knowledge, you know, something about this video helped you. That's my goal with these videos, is to just, through my testimonies, experiences, and just random ideas that I get, right? My goal is to just let you guys know that you're not alone in any of this, and that there are people like you, and that, hopefully my channel could be a place where, we could connect and feel safe, and, understand each other, because understanding each other is, um if you are anything like me, right, where you feel very much disconnected to this world, right? You feel like you don't fit in, you just feel set apart. Then it's important to find people that understand you, because the world will look at you like you're crazy. They're going to look at you like you're weird. And um one of the reasons that I like to make this video is because I want people to know that, there's not a lot of people in my life who I could talk about these things without them thinking that I'm like schizophrenic or something. So if I'm able to be able to make these videos for somebody who feels like that, and then they're able to connect to my video, then that's great. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, rest of your night, or the beginning of your day. I I hope peace and blessings to your family, loved ones, friends, and all those around you. And just thank you for watching. Thank you for everything. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.